My number two is the Grand Budapest Hotel from 2014, directed by Wes Anderson, starring Ralph Fiennes, F. Murray Abraham, Tony Revolori. Quick IMDb logline: a writer encounters the owner of an aging high-class hotel who tells him of his early years serving as a lobby boy in the hotel's glorious years under an exceptional concierge. So I put this movie on my list because this movie sort of captures my love for period films, especially period films in the kind of the World War II era. And there's so many movies I could have picked, but I think this is the one that I watched the most, and also a movie that wasn't taken. But I think sort of digging deeper, I think to me, why this is so comforting is that it's basically a company of actors coming together in this environment of exquisite costume design, exquisite production design, which really is true for, a lot of Wes's movies. But the reason why this movie makes this list for me is because I think this movie is the perfect balance of heart, quirkiness, humor, melancholy amongst all of Wes's movies. Because I think all of his other movies sort of, index a little bit more on one of those qualities versus the other, versus I think this movie is sort of pitch perfect. And that's why probably this is his most accessible film as well, and probably his most successful too. But personally, for me, the stuff I love about period films, especially from the World War II era, like the hotel, especially the 1930s part of this movie, it just doesn't get better than that, right? Like it's a feast for the eyes. You're transported back. All the details from the stop motion to Mendel's, to the perfumes, to the costumes, to every little detail is just so exquisite. And then similarly in the 1960s environment, I'm a sucker for mid-century modern design. So that appeals to me in that sort of way. So I think from a visual aesthetic standpoint, like this movie is sort of check, 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 and kind of building on what we were talking about, even with North by Northwest. But then I think the other part of this movie is, which makes it charming and sort of comforting to me, is in its central character. Like Gustav H, there's no character written like that. I think somebody who's kind of eccentric, impulsive, improper, but also very charming, very loving, very lovable. And at the core of it, I think this movie is a friendship movie between him and Zero. And, the two actors, Ralph Fiennes especially, so I'm still mad that he wasn't nominated for an Oscar. Like, oh, what a travesty. But
Yeah,
I think
insane.
it's his career best performance in my mind. But yeah, the core of it is this friendship between these two. And that's where the heart comes from. Like, I think if this movie was just beautiful to look at and beautifully made, I don't think this movie would make my list. I would appreciate it, but I think what gives it that extra depth and meaning, and why I stay with it and why I keep coming back to it, is because of that friendship and that kind of the heart between those two guys. And then the last thing I would say is, in a meta kind of way, it's comforting to watch Wes's movies because it's a bunch of friends coming together to make something they care and love about. And what's not comforting about that? Like every movie of his pretty much has the same people, and for the duration of the movie or whatever little scene I might watch of his movies, no matter what might be going on in my day or in my life, I'm sort of comforted that here's a bunch of people who enjoy each other. They're on the same page. They creatively fulfill each other, elevate each other's games, and create something that's just so beautiful and amazing. And, I get it. Like Wes is also kind of a hit or miss and is not everybody's cup of tea. And I wouldn't say that I love all of his movies, because especially when the quirky dial is way to the 100, I don't think I can go all the way there. But this one is definitely a special one. And like North by Northwest, I can watch the whole thing. I can just watch segments of it and just get a lot of delight and joy. Sometimes just visually at the surface, other times at deeper layers.
Yeah, this is a film I really like a lot as well. As you know, I am a huge Wes Anderson fan. I think we've covered a lot of his films already in the podcast. I think we only have a couple we haven't talked about. But this is definitely at the upper end of what he's done. It was interesting too, as I was watching this, thinking about, as a comfort film, just compared to his other films, I do feel like this might be his most fun movie in a way. Like the whole thing just has even though they deal with some really dramatic, and obviously there's themes in this movie that are very serious and melancholic and all that kind of stuff. Especially the opening and ending of the film is kind of framed by more of a somber tale, but yeah, this movie for some reason is just so fun, and I think it really is down to that friendship between Ralph Fiennes and Zero that makes this movie fun, and more so again than I think any of his other movies, save maybe Bottle Rocket. And something that too I think this movie, and in a way like another theme that I don't really touch on too much in the films I'm talking about, but that represents comfort for me, is just a world that is so intricately created that I would just I kind of want to be in that.
Totally.
And that makes me feel I get absorbed into this world that I want to be in. I would love to be in the Grand Budapest Hotel, like just to be sitting in the lobby and seeing all this stuff. I don't even have to be a guest. I want to eat some of the Mendel's. I mean, every time I see those Mendel's cakes, I'm just like, oh my God.
I want Mendel's cakes, and I want the clothing from the 60s era.
Oh,
I want those suits.
Yeah. So that is something that is, again, I didn't capture this in my films, but a comfort movie to me is a world I want to be in this world. Because not all of Wes's worlds are necessarily desirable to be in, but this one for sure is. I think the funness of this movie too is a movie, even, again, like North by Northwest, where there is other things going on. There's a lot of themes that this movie touches on. It's a lot about, post, World War II Europe, and, just themes about, the death of like kind of a society and a way of life. And these are important things, but the movie doesn't necessarily, if you kind of skip over that or don't want to focus on that, the movie still is a ride that is really fun. Just like you were saying, North by Northwest, you can turn your brain off and have a great time, or you can turn it on and then get more out of it. It's like your choice, which I think is what this film does so well. But
we'll keep finding that on my list. They're all like that.
The brain on or off switch.
It's up to you how much you want to engage. I mean, immigration, immigrants, all of that is sort of all in there. And if you want to engage with it or even interrogate it or critique it, you can do so. But if not, then that's good too.
I think this is the movie of his that works the most on two different levels. That you really can just kind of go through this as a breezy, fun movie with these two guys trying to chase down the will, and then you got Willem Dafoe's character is so silly and kind of going after him, and it's all this really fun plot elements, and you just don't have to think about anything. But if you do, there's so much there, and that's why I think this movie was celebrated so much it was an Oscar-nominated screenplay, right? I believe, and picture and all that kind of stuff. But certainly overlooked for Ralph Fiennes. I mean, I'm 100% agree with you. His career-defining performance so far. Hopefully, he continue to give us great work. But I mean, just what a character he created here, and just the way he's able to make this guy into someone who cares so much about this society and upholding these ways of the manners and ways of doing things. But in the flip of a hat, he'll be like, I don't care. Like, what? Like he'll swear, like, he'll swear. So it doesn't matter. Like, I love that scene where he's like, oh, the boy with apple painting. And I'm going to look at I'm on my deathbed. I'll be looking up at this painting, and through my entire life, this means the most to me. Or we'll just sell it and make some money. Let's just sell it like that. I love that. That is just a perfect encapsulation. His character is so rich. Like, definitely one of Wes's most interesting characters. For sure.
And total flesh and blood, right?
Like,
you feel like, and that's the thing. Like I was saying, you remove him and this performance, the movie falls apart.
I agree.
It just sort of becomes like a beautiful, jewel box of a movie, which a lot of Wes's movies are. But it's all real because of him, which is amazing. I was very fun to rewatch it. So thanks for putting it on the list. And then maybe one day we'll get to the other, I think it's like 2 or 3 Anderson, maybe 4 Anderson films we never talked about. I feel like this might be the director we complete somehow the first. Who knows? We'll see. That would be fun.
Yeah. Hey there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I cover a topic around important people, places, events, and moments in our lives, and then explore it through 3 of our favorite movies. Subscribe right now or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.